Oh, hello.
I think you nailed it.
Thanks,
Happy
so.
Halloween.
Very
Happy
good.
Halloween, everyone.
Yeah, happy Halloween,
It's
Happy
guys.
Halloween.
spooky times.
As you can see, very spooky.
Very, very spooky. Nothing is spookier than early Christmas. Like it's
That's true.
haunting when people start putting up their Christmas lights in like freaking late August. Nothing more scarier in the world.
I saw a Christmas advert on the TV yesterday.
Oh my
But
god.
you started.
Hey, Simon, isn't that Christmas lights in your background? Speaking of.
Yeah, you got Christmas
Well,
lights.
no, they're just colored lights.
Hey, look, I get it. It's a pain to put it down. You don't have to, like, you can just keep them up all year. It's regular decorations.
Yeah, and besides, you can just say that they're retrowave aesthetic, so you know they're only Christmas lights
that-
during Christmas.
That's what I was going for.
Well,
Well, it looked great.
welcome, everyone. As you guys can see, we got XENNON, XENNON, and of course Thorson tonight for our special Halloween episode, and it's a big one. Lots of cool stuff happening, and lots of videos to show. Actually, we have a lot of videos to show, so bear with us. XENNON, welcome.
Hi.
Hey, it's really great to have you here with us on the show.
It's
Absolute
good to
pleasure.
be here. It's great to be here. Thank you. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
It's just finally nice to see your face, and
Yes.
all these
to see your
years we've all
faces.
been like
Yeah.
engaging
Yeah.
on social media. It's like, yeah, there's
Yeah.
like finally a face. And
Yeah, a
nice
real
t-shirt.
person behind it all.
Yeah.
All this time, I was convinced you were just artificial intelligence. But here we are.
Imagine.
Maybe I am.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
That's your-
just CGI.
Right, you're actually- you're
Yeah,
AI,
a
you're dressed as
hologram.
human. I get it. Very clever.
Well, Zen,
Thorsten,
you-
where are you? Where do you live in? Is it which country are you living in?
Oh, me,
Awesome.
Iceland.
Yeah. What's that?
Iceland.
Iceland. I thought it was Iceland. Yeah, right. Because sometimes I think I saw you were maybe in the UK at some point, or were you not in the UK?
I was for a good 4 years. I was studying
Okay.
down in Southampton.
Oh, really? Southampton.
Yeah.
It's a little bit far from me, but yeah, down south.
Oh,
Where
you're
are
up
you in
north.
the UK,
right?
Zenon?
Yeah, I'm in the north, like the northeast, like on the border of England and Scotland,
Oh,
Right.
Oh, nice.
right on the border, kind of thing.
It must be so
Um,
nice there.
It's
I
nice,
always-
yeah. Right on the
like
coast
whenever
as
I
well.
see-
Like it's really
Yeah.
nice. Like nice beach and live near a really nice castle and stuff like that. It's cool.
I've
Ah,
always
beautiful.
wanted to
Oh,
like
that's
visit
cool.
the English countryside and
Yeah.
feel like Keira Knightley in those epic British, historic movies.
They just filmed. They actually filmed a few like historic films like
Yeah.
at that castle like nearby. Like they did Macbeth, like the one with Michael
Oh, yeah.
Fassbender. And they
oh,
did,
that
Oh,
one.
wow.
Yeah, they did that one there, and they did just recently. They were filming Indiana Jones there, and I didn't know. Like I saw all these cranes and stuff, and I was like, oh, like what's that, and I didn't think about it. But then I saw on the internet the next day that Harrison Ford was right there.
Oh
wow.
man,
Wow.
I didn't
Yeah.
even know there's another Indiana Jones movie coming.
Yeah, there's a new one. It's probably gonna be terrible, but yeah,
What's that, like number 38
We'll see.
now? or-
I'll watch. I'll still watch it.
Yeah, we'll see what it's like.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, well, since Zenon is our guest, Zenon, you have a new video out. So tell us
I
about
do.
your new video.
Yes. So, well, I haven't done a Halloween song before, so I thought, oh, I'll do a Halloween song, and yeah, I did one. And I love Halloween, like not the time of year, but the movie Halloween, especially
Yeah.
the first one and the second one, and the third one. I like the third one as well, even though it doesn't have Michael Myers in it. But I wanted to do a song, about Halloween, so. Yeah,
All right.
and I thought I would cut it to some footage of the original, the chase, the final chase in the original, because it's a classic classic point.
All right. Well,
yeah.
why is it called Haddenfield? By the way, is that something?
So Haddenfield is the town, is the street or
Street.
the area in Halloween.
How is it? I'm sorry.
yeah.
I have not. Obviously, I haven't seen any of the Halloween movies.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it's like the street. It just says it at the start, and I think they mention it a few times. But yeah, I just thought I'd call it that, so people who have seen it could go, "Oh yeah." I didn't want to call it like Halloween or Michael Myers or something like that, you know.
Well, I like how you picked up on the detail. So
I just went for the subtlety of it, you know.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, let's take a look at Haddenfield by XENNON.
There we go. This year's Halloween tune.
Yeah, those were some juicy scenes you got there.
Yeah, I love the synth choices. It's funny because it's like it's supposed to be scary and dark, but I'm like I was not one bit afraid.
Yeah,
I loved it added
Yeah.
The vibe.
a nice kind of a light vibe to the whole scene of someone being murdered, which is
Yeah.
a nice touch, I gotta say.
That's kind of what I wanted to do,
It
like
did-
make it a little bit weird. But because I thought, I could do like a kind of like a dark kind of tune.
Yeah, and I
thought,
like
no,
the witchy like melodies that you added in
Yeah,
there.
and
Yeah, it's like it's very pretty.
that's
actually.
kind of what I was going for, like a
it
more
has
like
this kind of like
pagan-y feel,
yeah, it has this kind of like triumphant feel to it, like the protagonist triumphing over the serial killer, which is part of the movie.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Always
Yeah.
love those
Like-
the sweeps as well. The sweeps are always great choice.
Yeah.
Thanks. I was
I'm
pretty,
just
I'm
Great
pretty happy with
vocals,
the
very great vocals always.
Oh, thanks.
Nana.
Yeah,
Very
I
good.
actually did the vocals in like a minute because I was just going to be instrumental, and I was just sitting in my room, and I just sang 2 lines. I just went, "No, turn around," and I went, "Into the night," and then everything is just cut up and edited throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, but sometimes something really minimal like that can really add life to a track.
Yeah, because I thought it didn't really need like full, it doesn't need a verse. It doesn't really need like that kind of thing. I want it to be kind of instrumental, but with those little kind of vocal parts that you kind of remember. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very catchy. It's like stuck in my head now. Into
Yeah,
the
yeah.
night.
Yeah.
Arrangements
Very
are
well
very good.
done,
I think
yeah.
I'm
overall,
happy with
I've heard so many of your songs, and I'm always so impressed by the sound design and the level of production that you bring.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I feel like it's funny, isn't it? I think we can all probably agree on this. Is you listen back to like your last thing and you go, "Oh, I could have done that so much better now." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then that's kind of the good thing about it as well, is because it allows you to kind of reflect and think, "Oh, I can do this better
Yeah,
now."
absolutely.
And it's kind of fun to listen to the old one, even though sometimes it can be a little bit cringy, and you go, "Oh, I could have, if only I'd known how to mix that vocal better," or
I feel like that's a story of our lives.
Subby bass,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But, yeah.
But
That's like
being unhappy with something that your former self has done only means that you have grown as a person.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I agree.
And our
I
ears
agree.
change. Like I feel like my ears are always changing every day.
Yeah.
And then like today,
Yeah.
so I would think that what I created today is like this most epic, amazing, triumphant thing. And then 6 months later, I'm like, shit.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Like after every song, it's like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna top that one. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the one. And
That's
then-
the
then
one. And then you're
Yeah.
like,
Exactly.
then you
That's
do-
kind of how I felt. Production wise, that song that we just heard there, I thought, oh, that's my best, one of my best in terms of production that I've done.
Mhm.
And yeah, you do think, oh, it's not going to get any better, but it always does every time
Yeah.
after.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit like I've got an album that's not been released yet, and it's like an instrumental album, and I made it during lockdown on like a little old laptop with some like headphones, not
Mhm.
very good headphones as well, and that's like still to be released, but it's the production on it is like nowhere near as good as what I can do now. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like I want to get it out there, but at the same time, like I don't.
So yeah, so my question is like, what do you do then? Like, do you just go proceed with the release, or would you go back
Redo
and
it.
redo it? You'd redo it, right? Just postpone the release. Or-
Well, the problem is I've already released like 4 singles from it.
Ah.
So
That's
like,
you
Yeah,
know
but,
what? You know what? That's okay. I think.
Yeah.
See, I always treat the singles differently from, like,
The
it's from the album. I always
Mhm.
and I've done that actually with my debut album, where like I released my first single, my
Mhm.
debut single, and then and like my best friend and I actually worked on it together. Like like he led the production on that one, and then and I really loved like how it ended up. But then we're like, you know what, this could be better.
Yeah.
And and then so we released another version. The official version is the album
Mhm.
version, and we
Mhm.
just gave it like a bracketed name, like, or like a new mix or something. We didn't call
Yeah.
it mix, but just a new name, or like at the
Yeah.
end. And I think it's always good to do that. you know,
Yeah.
and I don't think there's any shame.
No, I agree with you. My only thing now is, and I actually totally agree with you. I think the only thing now for me is, I feel like that chapter is kind of closed because I've already started
Yeah.
working on my 4th album and I've
Yeah,
got like
yeah.
8 songs done. So like to go back and do that, I just thought I'll just get it out, you know.
You're just
Yeah,
you're
Because
yeah,
I
yeah.
need to do like vinyl and stuff with Time Slaves, and it's all kind of ready. So I'm just gonna do it. And
Yeah.
And sometimes
And-
I feel like that's also like what your benchmarks are. Those are your personal perceptions. Like we're
Yeah,
not gonna hear
absolutely.
that. So when
That's-
we hear it, we'll be like, "Oh wow, it sounds great." Oh yeah, Xenon. You know, it's just like another
Yeah,
great
yeah.
Xenon album. We're not gonna
yeah,
be
maybe,
like,
maybe it's just me.
or-
Yeah, maybe I'm just thinking like too.
yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Critically.
Because like the latest instrumental singles from you that I've heard, like I've thought that, I don't have anything to complain about the production side.
Okay,
And
thanks.
I'm of the opinion
They're
that
the ones off the album. Actually.
yeah, but I think it's you just releasing it and it just being like this kind of one chapter in your life. I think that's a really valid way to do things.
Yeah. So everyone, if you guys want to support Xenon, go to his Bandcamp, xenon.bandcamp.com, and then also make sure to
Thank you so
follow
much.
him on Instagram. Yeah.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
And follow his
Okay.
incredible Spotify playlist as well.
Oh,
While
yeah,
you're
there's
at
a
it.
lot of. I should have
Yeah.
added that. Yeah.
Follow
Yeah,
the play. It's
Xenon,
all right. It's
the
okay.
the epic Spotify playlist.
The
It's still
Synthwave
growing,
playlist.
actually.
The prime synthwave Spotify playlist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
the
it actually
definitive
started.
list.
It actually started like going backwards. Like at one point, like it stopped. It came like I think a lot of other playlists, like user-made ones on Spotify, just kind of ground to a halt, and mine
feel
did,
like-
and now I just run ads on it, just keep them going, and it
Yeah,
and
I
it's
think that
keeps-
happens
keeps
pretty
growing
much
it.
all the time. Like, you know,
Yeah.
it's like the algorithm gods are the ones in control of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard to sustain the momentum like
Yeah.
constantly.
It's
Yeah,
always
that's
going to
true.
be difficult. Yeah.
But yeah,
But you know,
You
but
could- you
it's
find
still
other ways.
it's still an epic playlist. I still listen to it.
Yeah,
you
and
know,
it's
I have that-
it's a really huge service to the scene, and I really want to thank you for that. I've gotten like a lot of plays through that playlist.
Yeah,
Anytime.
thank you for
Anytime.
having us.
You
Yeah,
know,
that's
I
really
got
cool.
lucky with it really. So I know I didn't want to just. Obviously, I did stick all my songs on it, but I didn't want to just stick my songs.
Why
on
not?
it.
That's your playlist.
Yeah, why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah.
I think I saw someone like complaining once, like on like Discord or something like that, saying, "Oh, he stuck all his songs at the top." And I was like, "So what? So would you? Like, you'd be an idiot
Yeah.
not to."
It's your playlist. It's still your playlist. Day in and day, it's still yours. It doesn't matter,
what I mean?
you know.
But yeah, whatever.
Yeah. All right. Let's okay. So Kizuna, you also have you recently dropped a new single.
Yes, I did.
Oh.
It's called Hunter's Moon.
Yeah. So tell us about it.
So yeah, I've also wanted to do a Halloween song for a while, and I've been really intrigued by the concept of the Hunter's Moon, which is something that sounds like the name of a werewolf movie, but it's actually what the October full moon is called, and for some reason it's like much brighter than your average full moon, and historically, back in the Middle Ages, the time before that, people used to hunt during the moonlight so they could stockpile food for the winter, and it's always been like this an interesting concept in my head. Like, it's on the other hand, you can make something like really cheesy horror out of the idea, but it's also like this kind of almost valiant last-ditch attempt at surviving the coming winter. So I wanted to make a track that would kind of reflect it, that on a level that it could sound like it's a level in this action horror video game, but also something that would have something below the surface, something to discover behind it all. And it's been a rather successful track, if I may so say. And
Awesome.
I think people have been kind of getting what I've tried to communicate with it, and I've been exceptionally satisfied with it myself. So yeah,
Yeah, it's a good tune. Really good.
It's a
Thank
great
you.
job.
Can we get the artwork up one more time? I want to see it. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's
Thank
Beautiful
you.
art.
Yeah, it was made by one of my friends. I instructed him that I want something with kind of like this horror movie vibe, but
Mhm.
something that no vampires, no werewolves, something modern, kind of futuristic, but something like kind of like, how would I say, archeo-futuristic, organic, something fresh. And he's really into that kind of aesthetic, and I think he just absolutely really nailed it. I'm
Yeah,
just
actually, it looks
blown
very
away.
godly. Like,
Yeah, it does.
it has that god. Actually, like when I saw the artwork, I was like, oh, it looks like and I saw Hunter's Moon. I thought it was like, is it the moon goddess, like Artemis or
Yeah.
Diana? Like that's what it looked
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, and I really like it because the concept of the Hunter's Moon, it does have also some spiritual undertones, and I think the artist really nailed it. Like he
Yeah.
also did the artwork from my the single before this one, which is the Leave Humanity Behind, and it also has the certain spiritual undertones. For example, the hand in the artwork of that single is holding a lily, which is like generally considered this kind of symbol of life. And I think he has because we are very close friends, I think he has this exceptional eyes for picking out themes and aesthetics and ideas from my music. And I certainly hope to use his services in the future too.
That's awesome. All right, let's take a look at Hunter's Moon by XENNON. That was wonderful.
Love that.
Oh,
So
thank you guys.
Yeah. That was
Really good.
slapped so hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
really
a
wanted to
gospel
make
banger.
something. Yeah, I wanted to make a banger. I wanted to make something really hard and defiant, but still dark and atmospheric. And I think I may have succeeded in that.
You did. You did
Yeah, you
succeed.
did,
It sounds like
totally.
an
That's
anthem.
great.
It's got like that kind of vibe to it. It's like
Yeah,
epic.
I would totally get like
Word.
my cyber goth crew like dancing to that.
awesome.
That's
I
really good.
usually second out my music so much, which is like partly like healthy self-criticism and growth as an artist. But this one, like couple days later when this had uploaded to Spotify, I listened to it and I was like, yeah, okay, I actually still like this quite a bit. So
Good. You should.
Yeah.
No, it's
Pretty
great.
good.
yeah, I really don't know. Like I've been kind of like just in awe, like how people have received the track so well, and I'm really happy for it. And I hope it can give a little bit of extra strength to someone in the coming dark season.
Yeah.
I'm sure it
Yeah,
will.
really
I'm
wonderful.
sure it already has. To be honest with you.
Yeah. It
I would
definitely
love
got
nothing
yeah.
more than that.
All right. Okay, well. You guys have any ghost stories or anything like anything weird that's happened that you guys would like to share to our audience?
Only one thing, but it's like so explainable though. I think, like
That's
when I was
already debunked.
14 or something, I woke up in the middle of the night and my closet, which is like right next to the door, it had been opened up and all the drawers had been pulled out. That's it. That's the story, Just have done that.
Wait,
Maybe-
was it
Could
Maybe
you-
weird?
it was some
Wow.
poltergeist
Was
activity.
it was yeah. What was the
Has to
reason?
be, right? Maybe a
Wow.
panda came into my room and scoured
Oh my God.
through my clothes and
It better be
I
a
lost
red
a t-shirt
panda.
that night.
You know the red
Could have
pandas?
been very
Like
well
the ones
been
that do
red
that.
panda, yeah.
Yeah, the red pandas.
I don't get that reference, but I'm sure it did that.
I'll show you what a red panda is. They're like the most precious creatures.
I know that
'Cause they
they're
do
like
that. 'Cause they
they're
really
very
do this.
they do actually. Okay, I just know that they're on the brink of extinction, right? They're not very
Oh,
many
that
of them.
wasn't sad. I'll adopt all the red pandas in the world. They can hang out with me and Hamlet.
You can
Yeah.
come. It sounds like a great time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what's up with like all these? Why do we let animals go extinct? Like, we could just like all adopt them, take care of them, let them breed. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe not drive them to extinction in the first place.
exactly. Not exactly.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
talking of ghost stories, my old apartment had like towards the end where I lived there some weird stuff going on. Like I know this sounds really silly, but my Xbox would keep on like turning itself on spontaneously. And one night, one of the doors in the apartment opened by itself, which like really freaked me out. It may have been like the door wasn't kind of it was a bit janky, and it may have been like this, like I don't know, air pressure differential between the two rooms, but it was still freaky, and just there was just like generally a lot of bad vibes there. I would sometimes
Yeah.
like hear this weird kind of really shrill noise, like quiet shrill electric noise during the night, which I would try to locate, like do I have some charger that's making the noise, is my computer making the noise, but I could just never like freaking locate it. There would be sometimes like these weird sudden unexplainable smells, like sometimes like bad smells like sulfur or stuff, but like a couple of times something like rose perfume or such. And a couple of times, like when I was trying to sleep, I kind of felt like almost if it like was like windy inside the apartment, and I just started having like constant nightmares and these fits of sleep paralysis, and it's really affected my mental health. And towards like the spring it started to cease, but it was like from the end of October to like January that there was just this weird bout of like strange stuff happening in the apartment, and it really got to me. And I don't really doubt people's ghost stories anymore. They're like
Yeah.
Do you still live in that apartment?
No, I don't. Like, it was definitely a big factor why I moved out. And another factor was that, which
You just
I'm.
moved out recently, right? You just moved into a new apartment recently.
No, I'm moving to another new apartment. Like, yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
when this is broadcasting, I may have already moved, but it's like
Oh.
during the 30th of October. So I don't know what's the structure of time like here. Are we in the twilight zone? What is recent and not?
Well, it sounds like your old apartment was really haunted.
Yeah, and the owner, like the landlord of the apartment, like had died during I think the spring or the summer.
Oh,
And
really?
I kind of
The
thought
story
like,
just keeps on like
okay.
snowballing and snowballing.
Yeah. I just thought,
Died in
okay,
in the building.
not in the building. He lived like in a nursing home in like
Ah.
way north. I think, like very far away. But
He might
did
have
that mean
travelled
like
up.
this kind of a
Traveled down.
summer home for the family, which he had then rented out first to like my back then girlfriend and then to me, because like I didn't want to move out because I was like in the middle of doing my master's thesis, and moving out on top of that just felt like too much of a freaking hassle. So I stayed there and for a couple of years because it was convenient. It was like below the market price and spacious and stuff like that. And then he goes and dies, and the next winter shit starts getting really weird. And thankfully, during the spring, the landlord's son was like, okay, hey, my son wants to move into this place. Can you please move out? And I was like, yeah, actually, I'm really glad to move out.
That's really Well,
Yeah,
you
but
survived
man,
all of that.
yeah,
So-
man, that was some weird stuff.
Well, we're gonna let's hit pause on the ghost stories. Let's take a quick look at another music video. This one's actually a choice by XENNON, but I also agree. So I would also say it's also my choice, but it's by Gunship. It's called Black Sun on the Horizon from their first
Okay, and
album.
after that song, XENNON is going to tell us the best ghost story that has happened to him in real life. No pressure. XENNON, no pressure. Just
All right.
Nothing's
All
ever happened to me actually.
No, wait, what did you say? Nothing has happened to you?
I've never
Oh
had a-
God.
I've never had a ghostly experience.
that's a blessing. That's a
Man.
good thing.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
a good thing. You're lucky. But
yeah.
let's take a look at Gunship. Hold on.
I'll think of one that was told to me.
All right.
In this world, is the destiny of mankind controlled by some transcendental entity or law? Is it like the hand of God hovering above? At least it is true that man has no control, even over his own will.
That was
Gunship.
a certified scene classic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love.
And
I love
I
that
think that
first
was
Gunship
the
album.
that was the second like music video on this show that has featured footage from the '97 Berserk anime movie.
It's
Yeah.
great. The '97 was like.
Yeah,
I
it's
liked
it's
the
freaking great.
I liked the kind of the new ones, but they're nowhere near as good as the '97 one.
Yeah, same. I didn't like exactly hate the new ones. They just had certain production quirks to say the least, and the '97 one it's a masterpiece. So it's just like, eh.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gunship certainly a certified synthwave classic to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, it's yeah,
I-
that whole album is perfect. Really, there's not a bad song on it, and yeah, it's very listenable album.
Yeah, I definitely crushed really hard on that album for all of 2017. Like
Yeah.
it was on repeat nonstop, and and they're probably. I wouldn't want to give them credit for me getting into synthwave. Like they're the ones that
So they were the gateway band.
they were
Same-
the ones
same
that
for me.
really yeah.
Interesting.
I think
Like I heard them, and to me, I don't even consider them super synthwave. To me, they're more electronic rock with synths, and you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I think they're kind of like they have a very unique style, and I think it's like they could have spawned like some kind of subgenre or a lot of like very close imitators, but it didn't. I don't know why. Maybe it's like their quality of composition is of such high standard, or the vibe isn't like something that, how would I put it, requires a decent vocalist or like a decent understanding of something ineffable that makes Gunship what it is. But it's kind of interesting. They have a really recognizable style, but it might be just like with Carpenter Brut that damn a lot of people wish they were Carpenter Brut, but they just can't reach that kind of level of quality.
no, yeah. And I like their writing. I love Gunship's writing. I love the way they write their lyrics, the way they compose, and their use of synths. I really really admire their taste level. I think they do it in a very particular way. It's still tasty, but it's still rock, and it's still rock, and it's still it definitely has a vibe that is very different. And
Yeah.
I could talk all day about Gunship.
I think
especially that first album. Like I
Yeah.
am a big fan of that first album.
I think like Tech Noir was like the first synthwave song that I heard, and I think that I instantly kind of got in. Well, I got into that album, and then I think I like discovered the usual, like the Midnight after that, and then
Yeah, Tech Noir
Like,
was
well,
actually
that's
the first song too from Gunship that I first heard, and
Yeah.
I remember listening to it over and over, and I was like, these guys are really great.
yeah,
And
and that's
then
a
the
great
rest of
song.
yeah.
That was co-wrote by, because it's two members of Fight Star, isn't it? Remember that?
Yeah,
band,
Fight Star. Mhm.
And then,
I didn't know that.
Mhm.
That's
yeah, so the guy
interesting.
who was in Fight Star, who used to be in Busted, that boy band, the kind of pop punk manufactured boy band. I don't know if they were really big in America or wherever else, but they were really big in the UK.
They were big
Okay.
in America, but I know them.
Yeah, really, yeah. So the main guy, one of them, then made a band called Fight Star, which were more like you might have heard them, like rock. And then he wrote Tech Noir and a couple of other songs, I think, on the album with, and he sings on it as well.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I know Fight Star. I didn't ever listen to terribly much to them, but the name is familiar and
Yeah.
really interesting. Always when people from bands start popping up in the synthwave scene.
Yeah, but I think it's great. I mean, they're legit. I mean,
Yeah.
they've served their time. They've done the whole industry rounds, and
Yeah, absolutely.
and I think actually, and it's funny because like Gunship does not go on tour, and it's something
Yeah,
that's
never
really
gigged up
interesting.
there.
They never
Yeah.
gigged, and it's something that I've always wanted to see them live. You know, see how they translate
Yes, yeah.
live, and it is curious because I feel like they are at that point in their lives where they're just like, they're just resting. They're like, yeah, we're just gonna make art and
Yeah,
just do like what we
probably.
want. And like, but if you look at their history, they have served their time and they have done the rounds.
Yeah.
I really admire that. I really appreciate musicians who've gone through that route. And
Yeah.
I didn't want to say anything, but yeah.
I think we need a vote on who's wearing the best costume.
my vote is well, Zenon, you're cheating.
Yeah. Sorry. I didn't have time. I just didn't have time. Like I was thinking about something and then and yeah, had no time.
We're fans of the t-shirt, don't worry. But
It's a good t-shirt.
It's a fantastic Stanley Kubrick fan costume, I think.
Yeah.
but my vote would be Thor's.
Yeah, I do like Thorson.
Yeah.
I like all of them. I think you're all really good. Really nice.
They're all great. I think I'll reciprocate. I think my vote goes to Serena, although Kizunat's costume is brilliant as well.
I think everyone here is representative of their real characters.
Yeah. But I do have to say that
our happy elf, Icelandic elf Thorson.
yeah, I have to.
I love the Crow, and as you guys know, everyone knows I'm obsessed with Brandon Lee and the Crow, and that
Yeah.
song "Burn by the River."
Yeah.
And Kizunat's it's just brilliant. I think Kizunat should have a project that utilizes this look. To be
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I actually used to have like an early solo project where, like, for the first promo photos, I wore this mask. But so I used to have. Maybe I will do something with this look again. The future is
love it.
uncertain.
It's really
I
cool.
approve of that.
Should bring it
But,
out
you
like every
know-
Halloween season, like change it
Yeah.
like your alter ego kind of thing.
Yeah. Especially since Twitter has this weird thing where everyone, changes their name and avatar
their
for
name, yeah.
Halloween. And yeah, I did the same thing, and this was perfect for it. But I think Thorison definitely has the scariest costume because
I agree.
if
yeah.
you
Elves-
appeared in my sleep paralysis fit, I would be scared. I would be really.
yeah, exactly. Haven't you seen the Eurovision movie? They're the elves. They're
Yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna continue with the ghost stories. And Zenon, you have to come up with one. Okay.
So I don't have any ghost stories because nothing happened to me. But
Yeah. Well,
my
we're gonna
dad-
come up with that later. But let's first look at Sinoia Caves, Forever Dilating Eye. And I think was it Kizunat who? I think Kizunat, you're the one who discovered this one, right?
Yeah, it's from perhaps my favorite horror movie soundtrack. So Sinoia Caves is this guy called Jeremy Schmidt. He's a Canadian dude, a keyboardist for the band Black Mountain, and he's been in a couple of bands before, Sinoia Caves and the Black Mountain. I think the most like popular or well-known band he was in was Battles, this kind of rock band you may have heard of or not. But anyway, like, he's done one album and the soundtrack to this movie called Beyond the Black Rainbow, and sadly, apparently nothing else. He owns a ton of like really vintage electronic equipment, which he has utilized in his music. It has this like kind of almost like, this kind of very old school ambient, like this krautrock, kosmische music vibe, like kind of Tangerine Dream type of vibe. But the movie soundtrack, it has like some extremely dark and really cool moments. Such a wonderful, unique vibe. Such a perfect fit for, the movie soundtrack. The movie itself is just absolutely phenomenal. It's definitely not for everyone. It's from the same director who made Mandy. And, I would kind of like say Beyond the Black Rainbow is like art house Mandy, and Mandy is like a B movie Beyond the Black Rainbow. They have a bit similar vibes, but Beyond the Black Rainbow is about this girl who is being held captive in like this kind of a bizarre wellness institute or mental hospital against her will, and there's like this element of she being like constantly drugged and by her captors, and she has like terrifying these kind of hallucinations and visions, and also the main villain is constantly abusing the same drugs on himself, and he also has equally terrifying experiences himself, and it's the vibe of it is just like absolutely completely like nothing out there. It's fantastic, and it can get a bit slow burner, but if you go in with like the idea that the mood is more important, and kind of think of it as like a really long music video almost, you'll get the most out of it, I think.
Well, it definitely fits the Halloween narrative.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
It is
Absolutely.
a great film. I really enjoyed it.
No, definitely I'm gonna have to check out that movie.
I haven't seen it, but I really like this clip that you chose, Kizunat.
All right, we're gonna look at Sonoya Caves, Forever Dilating Eye. organic drums. So much. Along with electronic sounds. Like I love the juxtaposition. And that one
Yeah, and
sounded really
in the
good.
context of the movie, kind of, it was like sort of trying to go for the kind of late 70s, early 80s vibe. I think it's just perfect because the drum machine technology at that point was kind of unripe and not all that great sounding, to be honest. And it works really well. It gives this kind of like a really sort of hypnotic feel to it, and
Mhm.
that combination reminds me a bit of this one Finnish band called KXP2, which does a bit similar material, maybe a bit more rooted in traditional rock, if you can call that. But yeah, Sinoia Caves, from the soundtrack to Beyond the Black Rainbow, extremely highly recommend checking out the movie. If you don't want to check out the movie, at least check out the soundtrack. It's cool stuff.
All right. No, that was a treat. I also love the visuals. It was haunting, and then it was
Yeah,
The
it was beautiful. I thought it was really beautiful. Like even though
yeah.
it was
It's
a
the
loop,
the
but it
whole
was.
the whole movie is really beautiful. It's just like the
Is
way
that
the
part of
aesthetic.
the movie? Is that clip from the movie? No, that's just something
It
from the.
it's like it's a part of the movie, but in the movie it's a much shorter scene. It's
Okay.
like in that it's I think it's either been looped or then it's like
Yeah,
the scene has been reenacted. But there is a very similar scene in the movie
that's
itself.
cool. That looks really cool.
I think,
yeah,
yeah, you pretty
the movie
much
kind of
nailed it with, if you get into like the whole story behind it and the theme, then it's great. Like it's very enjoyable.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah. All right, let's do some horror stories. So, Zenon said that nothing has ever happened to
right.
him.
So which is disappointing because I'm like a big horror and like ghost fan, you know. So
You're like,
ghost,
come on, show up, guys, show up.
ghost fan stuff, yeah. But nothing.
So you too desperate. They don't like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Too
no,
desperate.
nothing's never happened to me.
Ah,
But my dad said that he once saw. This is ridiculous. My dad said that he once saw the ghost of Sherlock Holmes. But obviously Sherlock Holmes is not real. But
are you
he
sure
said
he's not real though?
he said he was camping one night and can't believe I'm telling this story. He was
Come on. Now you got me curious.
Yeah.
he was camping in a field, and he said it was like a really big field, and the tent just like opened, the door was open, and he said this old man, he said he was about 80, popped his head in the tent, and he was wearing like the Sherlock Holmes kind of gear, with the hat and stuff. And
Oh my god.
all right, and then, and then he popped out again, and then my dad opened the tent to look, and he was gone, just gone. And he looked all around him, and he said he looked into the field, and he said the guy was about 80 years old, and he was just he disappeared. He didn't know where. How
Wow.
could the guy get away so quick? So he thought it was a spirit of Sherlock Holmes.
So
That was so
Sherlock-
weird.
Or
Yeah, that's
Sherlock
weird.
Holmes.
So Sherlock
Well, I mean,
Holmes
ghost or
is
not,
real.
yeah, that's peculiar for sure.
Yeah, it's funny.
Very peculiar.
Oh
That's
God.
my ghost story. Sorry.
It was a good one. I like
Good
that.
one, yeah.
Yeah, you don't hear that kind of a story every day.
It's true.
Yeah. Oh my God, I have a lot, and I'm actually shifting through my head, which is the best one to narrate tonight.
Mhm.
So I used to have terrible bouts of sleep paralysis. Terrible, like almost every other night, and I feel like I would be in between dimensions, and I would just see all kinds of weird shit, right? And then but there was this one terrible, terrible, terrible night when so I slipped into sleep paralysis, and then suddenly there's this tall, really tall, hatted figure appeared next to me, and I could see myself in my bed, locked in place, and and I see this tall figure with like really long hands grab my wrist and basically whisper, "You're mine," and start
Ah.
rubbing my
Oh
wrist.
man.
And I could
Oh,
see it
God.
as though it was really happening, like
Ugh.
full dimension, and just like, and start rubbing my wrist. And I couldn't scream because you're locked. I was locked in place, right? I was locked in place. I couldn't scream. I couldn't do anything, and then I finally was able to snap out or let out a yelp, and my partner at that time heard me and then basically woke me up, and I woke up, and then woke up really disturbed and really
Ooh.
really scared. And I
Yeah,
was
that
like, I
sounds really
saw this.
scary.
It's like, I could see this figure, like even and I could even remember, like, to right now. Like, I'm kind of a little freaked out right now. I could
Ooh.
remember what it looked
Yeah.
like.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I woke up, and then I like, I had to take a moment, but all of these like terrible images started appearing in front of me, like in my like in my head, like it's all kinds of like monstrous faces started appearing, and it took maybe almost half an hour just to calm down and just to like rest my head for, just to get it into like a good place.
Mhm.
And then I started passing out. Then my partner started going to convulsions next to me.
Oh shit.
Like he started like he was asleep, but he was like shaking everywhere, and then like, so it was my turn to wake him up, and it was like, wake up, like, you're having like a bad nightmare too.
Yeah.
And then he was like, did you just grab me in my back? Like, and then he said that something just grabbed him, like grabbed his back like that, and he could still feel the 5 fingers like on his back. And
That's
then
pretty creepy.
and I just did not go back to bed ever since. Like, I was just like, I'm just gonna go like stay up for like the rest of the rest of the night. And and yeah, that was probably one of the scariest episodes that I've had. And it was a tall hatted
That's absolutely
figure.
horrifying.
Yeah, and then he
Damn.
didn't see it, but apparently there was something there, because if it affected him too, it wasn't just me, it also affected
Mm.
him.
Mm.
And that was yeah. And the place that similar to Kizuna, like, it was one of my old apartments in New York. And New York it's filled with all these renovated, like, pre-war buildings, like we're all historic buildings, right? So a lot of those
Yeah.
places are older, it's just renovated. And but that place has always been weird. Like, I've always seen like weird shadows, like in the corner of my eye, like, that would just like flicker here and there. And then another scary thing that has happened was it was late at night, and I was in the living room, and so we have a hallway that's basically leads to to our neighbors' apartments, right? And I I was sitting in the living room, and all the lights were turned off. The only light that was there was this little sliver of light that was peeking through the door, like underneath the door, like coming from the hallway. And I was all alone, and nobody was home. And I know my neighbors were not around. They were all on vacation at that time. Um, and then I saw a shadow like pass through, like basically cover that light that was coming from the door, as though something was passing through the hallway. And no footsteps, no nothing, no other sound. I
Oh.
just saw a shadow like cover the light. And
Ooh.
that was really weird. And then a lot of other weird things that I would see, like I saw um and Hamlet, he was still a little baby at that time, but he was also kind of like my radar. Like, he was like, he could see things. But we both saw this together. We saw a figure of a man, really quickly. We were talking like a second and a half, really quickly appear, go through our wall, and then come down and disappear into the floor.
Jesus.
And then we both saw it.
Oh,
And we were like,
man.
well, Hamlet and I both went. And then we looked at each other. And then
that's-
Hamlet chased it, was trying to chase it. And it's like where did it go? Like, you know. And so I was like, okay, so my dog saw it. It was definitely there. But that was a really, really crazy.
Was did this all happen in New York or?
Yeah,
or-
it was just this one apartment in New York.
Okay, well, no wonder why you moved.
Yeah.
What keeps happening?
I
It
know,
all
but
makes
I've
so much
always
sense.
and so I wear this red string. It was given to me by my brother, and it's just something like ever since I started wearing it, like a lot of I don't know if it's psychological or whatever, but a lot of weird things stopped happening, you know.
Love
that.
But it was yeah, he wears it too, so we both have it together. But I've been plagued pretty much for many
that's
years. Like I used to
awful,
see
but
a lot of things. I saw little dwarves when I was a little kid. I could see little dwarves like you, Thorson.
Like
not
like
more
what-
elf. Come on,
Oh,
don't.
sorry, elves. Yes, elves. Sorry, elves. Yeah, sorry. Didn't mean to.
Like dwarves, like how did they look?
Sorry, elves. They're like elves.
Oh,
They
elves.
were so like they were this big, like the size of my glass, and smoke like figures, wearing
Wow.
pointy hats, pointy shoes. You can see the details, but they're kind of smoke like, and I used to see them running around from one point of my room, and then they would like dart and hide behind the bed, and then dart again, go behind my desk. But I would see them dart like all over the place, like when I was like 5 or 6 years old. And then, you know, and I would tell my sisters, and they won't believe me. And I'm like, it's there.
That's
That's really fascinating.
fantastic. You know, no one ever believes you. It's so
Nobody
frustrating.
believes me. Yeah.
But Senna, you were, wondering why you haven't had anything happen to you. There you go. Serena took it all. She took all the action from you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I definitely think that
Give me
some
your
people are
nightmares.
more sensitive to weird stuff than others.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, that's
But,
that's
you know-
a horrific series of happenings. It's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
There was it's
You know, I find the elves really interesting because, it's something that people, they're gonna think it's really silly or laugh at it. But I've never seen them. But, in basically every freaking culture on Earth, they have these tales of short people with unusual powers who live in the forest or caves, and it's really weird. Why does literally almost every single culture on Earth have the same kind of mythology about them?
well, yeah, I mean that's
It's
like
weird.
that's in everything, that's like
Yeah.
I mean I've been watching, as you guys know, I love Ancient Aliens. It's just the same mythology, the same gods,
Mm.
even similar names between
Mm-mm.
cultures, but I do believe in, there are people who they're gifted. They could see things, and there are a lot of gifted people in my family who could see things and perceive things that, normal people can't.
Hmm.
And actually, I feel like all my experiences, because I feel like I'm at the cusp of that, where maybe I do have something that's yet underdeveloped that still needs to open up, but it I do believe that there are things that do exist in other dimensions and other forms and other light waves that we definitely can't see, with a regular human eyes, but
Mm.
they're probably out there, and it's also kind of just like I do take comfort in that there are other beings and entities besides humans.
Mm.
But yeah, it exists in every culture. It exists in every country, has its own history or its own mythology or folklore about all kinds of supernatural beings. So
Yeah.
um
I bet humans are still way worse than them all together. You know.
Probably.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But all right, let's hit pause on the scary stories for now. that was the creepy one, so I had to definitely share that with everyone.
Yeah, that was very creepy.
Yeah,
You
I
have-
don't wish that even on anyone for sure. Like it's some of these experiences. If I'm a little bit more fragile, it would probably impact me mentally.
Mm.
But all right, let's take a look at music videos just to like change the atmosphere a bit, and let's and we picked a fun one actually, Thorson, and I agree, Thorson. Thought beings. Second time we're featuring thought beings in the show because we really like those guys.
we love thought beings. Yeah, they put this out beginning of October.
Yeah,
Um,
it's in time for Halloween. It's called Strange Matter, and it's a little bit more on the dark wavy side.
I think it's a nice take on Halloween. I think.
Yeah.
Love the video as well. It's very dark, but at the same time super fun. Just the
Yeah.
way the thought beings do everything.
Yeah,
Really,
it's
they
like
have their own take on everything.
they have a nice DNA going on where
Mhm.
if they go do darker genres, it still sounds like them and looks like them. So, all right,
Yeah.
let's take a look at Strange Matter.
Hereditary control. Do you believe in love?
What kind of
That
party?
had a very cool vibe to it.
That
Does,
party
yeah.
in the end. Like there's the guy in the gimpy mask and then everyone's just having a cocktail.
Yeah.
That was a great track, great video.
Yeah,
I do
definitely.
like
Yeah,
concepts
really
of
good.
dark matter. It always appears in video games as a nice little magic like a magic force that you can use on your enemies, dark matter. And
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII definitely has something like that, right? Like
yeah, it has.
Yeah.
that's just what it reminds me of. Something from video games a bit. But I love it. I love the song. It's really, really cool.
Great song. The
Yeah.
whole EP, is great actually.
Mm-hmm. So that was Thought Beings.
I heard another song from it. I haven't actually heard the EP, but I heard there's another song in it called like maybe Alone or something like that. Alone Again or something like that. I'm not sure. But it was really good. That's the first time I've heard that one actually, and I really like it. Yeah, it was good.
Cool.
This was actually for me the first time hearing Thought Beings, and if the rest of the material is at least on the level of this one, I'll definitely be checking them out too.
Yeah,
They're more,
absolutely.
they're
Recommend
more
taking through them.
poppy, and
Yeah, but I like synth pop too.
and yeah, but they're on this like the level of this track that we just showed. It's
Yeah.
the same character, yeah,
Yeah.
with them. And all right, you guys have any more horror stories? Okay, what other Halloween topics?
I have weird stories about UFOs. I suppose they are kind of scary. I've
I love
seen.
UFO.
Yeah. I've noticed, but I've seen something unidentified in the sky actually twice during my life, and the first time was really weird, and I was like a very small child, maybe like 7 years old, like old enough to, like, in Finland people are a bit more like, allow kids a bit more freedom than in the United States. So I had been hanging out in a park near our back then house, and I was coming home, and when I was near one apartment complex, I just kind of looked towards the sky on an impulse, and I saw something there which, being 7 years old, very interested in space, I thought, cool, that's a space rocket. And the thing I saw was like this torpedo shaped object in the sky that had this like weird black and white, almost chessboard like pattern all over it, and kind of, it's torpedo shaped. It has like this, it's blunt but has like this sharper end, and at the blunter end it had like this orange glowing light, but no smoke or nothing. And from my perspective, it was about the size of my finger, so kind of small, kind of far away, but still you could make out features of it, and it was just kind of like drifting in the sky, and I just like stared at it for a while, and I didn't think it was all that weird, because once again, 7-year-old, no context for anything that's going on, but I did have this kind of strange feeling that, okay, maybe this is something that I shouldn't talk about. So yeah, I go home, and that's about it. And then I'm like, much later on, when I learn about UFOs, and I'm like in my teens, I get this like realization that, okay, there are no freaking space rockets flying around where I live. That was so freaking weird. What the hell was that? And it's just like, was something like, I don't really know what to make of it. Like, sometimes at this point I kind of doubt the memory, but I do remember, like, I was so weirded out by it as a teen, because the memory was still so much more fresh, and it was really weird. But I also have a much more recent experience, and it actually happened like in the old apartment that I lived in. And
Damn old apartment.
yeah, and this one is also a bit weird. So before I get into the sighting itself, I need to give a bit of a prelude, because I feel like on some level these two events are connected. So I was living with my back then girlfriend, and one night I just woke up to this like weird glassy howling sound that seems to be coming from outside of the house, and I had gone to sleep a bit earlier than my girlfriend, and she was just like coming to the bedroom, and I asked her like, what the heck is that noise? And she was like, oh, you can hear it too. I thought it was like my ears ringing out, because it had a bit like that quality, but I make music. I'm a bit more capable at pinpointing sounds like which is coming from my ears and which is not. And I was like, no, I hear that too, and that's not tinnitus. That's something else. And we were like it sounded like it was coming from the sky. And
Wow.
we checked out from the the bathroom, not the bathroom window, the bedroom window, and we saw one of the the opposite apartment complex neighbors. They were staring at the sky, and we tried to look at the sky, but we didn't see anything, and it just turned into this a weird screeching noise after a while, almost like metal grinding against each other, but it had almost a melodic quality to it.
Wow.
It was extremely weird. But we were
it was really loud because your neighbors heard it too.
Yeah, it was something that you could very clearly hear, and it was loud enough to wake me up from sleep.
Wow.
And it was okay, we were what was that? That was really puzzling. We thought there's this kind of a place where they repaired subway carriages a kilometer or two away, and we thought, okay, maybe it was noise from there because it sounded a bit metallic. But a couple of days pass, and I'm coming home from lectures, and I remember it being mid-October, so maybe around the time we are actually recording this. But yeah, the weather was absolute garbage. It was intermittent rains, very gusty winds, just gray all over. I come home, I'm really tired. I check for my girlfriend. I don't see her anywhere in the apartment. I think okay, maybe she's gone shopping or something. She'll be back soon. I used to smoke cigarettes back then, so I go to the balcony and light up a cigarette, and I smoke it for a while, and then from the corner of my eye, I see something just absolutely freaking blast through the sky, and it was this black cylindrical object. Absolutely no freaking noise. It just flies straight like a bullet, faster than anything I've seen in my life. I've lived near an airport back then. There was a small airport in my old hometown where I lived with my parents. I've seen civilian airplanes, military airplanes. It was so amazingly fast, and just this perfect black cylindrical object. No noise, no fire, no sounds, lights, nothing about the size of a
It uses strange matter.
yeah, something like that. But just this.
I was actually I was just at that episode of Ancient Aliens when they were talking about element 115. You guys ever saw that?
Are we having a
episode
bit
where
of a synchronicity moment here, maybe?
Yeah, no, they're talking about element 115, which is basically they were talking about how there were a couple of people who basically came forward and said the U.S. government and probably other governments around the world have been reverse engineering UFO or these alien ships that have crashed, and then they've discovered element 115, or what they now call element 115. Basically it's just this super volatile matter that extraterrestrial beings have been able to harness that can power all of their spaceships, or certain spaceships, to traverse space and time. And yes, apparently
have they made it work?
They were able to recreate, or the Russians were able to recreate element 115, but they don't know how to control it yet. So, but the very moment we learned how to control that, we can go anywhere. but I totally
never heard of
all
this.
that shit. I'm it makes sense.
Yeah, I've not heard of that.
Anyway, the thing, it was from my perspective, it was about the size of a cigarette filter, but it was clearly kind of far away because at one point it disappeared. It disappeared behind some other apartment buildings that were I don't know, a half kilometer or kilometer away. And I was just absolutely freaking stunned by it. I just went inside, and I was completely what the heck was that? Then I get into my go to flight radar and see if there were any civilian flights or something nearby, though it wasn't. And airplane. And then my girlfriend comes from like the bedroom, and I'm like, "Whoa, where did you come from?" And she's like, "I was napping there, and I swear I had freaking checked the bedroom for her like 10 minutes earlier, and she wasn't there." Like
Oh shit.
maybe it's possible she was tucked
She'd
in
been
so
taken.
well that I couldn't see it there. But like
Yeah, that's weird.
that's so weird.
Do you think they took her and then put her back?
Yeah.
Like
oh,
I don't freaking know. I think it's like maybe, or it was like like ever since that I felt like there's something off in the world, and not in the sense of just like I've seen some weird shit and I've had some kind of awakening or something, but sometimes I think because there are some people who claim that they've like slipped into some kind of alternative dimension or something like that. Maybe my craziest thought is like maybe on that moment I kind of slipped into some place, and in that reality my girlfriend was actually like sleeping, and then I don't know, it's really weird. And it's like this kind of, it's just one thing to just see something weird, but you have like the freaking weird noise before that, like
Yeah.
everything else weird that went on in that apartment, and the weird details after that, like it's just really haunting.
Yeah. Well, I have a couple of experiences to share, but first, we're going to take a look at Electric Soul. Electric Soul is actually Synthfam. They're from Phoenix, Arizona,
Oh,
and we got this video from them, and it's called "Gotta Know." Let's check it out.
I gotta know what you're thinking. I gotta know what you're feeling deep inside your heart. I gotta know your intentions. Do you love me for my soul or just my body parts? I gotta know what we're doing. I gotta know if it's true or if it's just an illusion. Gotta know if you're worth keeping, or if there's someone else I should be choosing. I gotta know what you're after. I gotta know it now before we get in too deep. I gotta know if this is really real, or if it's just a dream, just a dream, just a dream. Time is precious. We'll never forget this. But if we're gonna regret it, I gotta go. Time is precious. We'll never forget this. But if we're gonna regret it, I gotta go. I gotta know if your motives are pure. I gotta know 'cause I just wanna be sure. I gotta know if you're my destiny, or if my love's just got the best of me. I gotta know we're connected. I gotta know that you can't live without me. I gotta know if you're my one and only 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 one and only. I gotta know. I gotta know. I gotta know, or I just gotta go. I gotta know. I gotta know. I gotta know, or I just gotta go. Gotta go. Gotta go. Gotta go. Gotta go.
that
Awesome.
was funky.
Yeah, Electric Soul. I never. They approached me a few months ago, asking me if I wanted to do some work with them on production and mixing, and that was actually the first song in that series that we did. Although it wasn't the first that got released, they had their own kind of release schedule. I never really considered it like a Halloween song until I saw someone say like, "Hey, that sounds a bit like Thriller."
It actually does. It does.
It
Yeah,
sound
I
like
love
kind of
that.
does, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a
And-
fun video, you know.
Yeah,
And
it's,
I
yeah.
always love proper pajamas.
Yeah,
Really,
yeah,
proper pajamas.
they went, yeah, they went for it. Like, got a nice creepy house somewhere in Flagstaff, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, they just like I think they just filmed it themselves. You know, did all the work, which is
It's
admirable.
cute, yeah. And then they look like such
Yeah.
a fun group, like a bunch of
Yeah.
like really
Yeah,
cool
yeah.
characters.
I didn't realize they were like a band, like a group. I just thought it was one guy and you, Thorson. I knew you were working on stuff with them. That's all I thought it was. And I knew they had like a
Yes.
female vocalist here and there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the female vocalist Lindsay, she actually does their recordings as well.
really?
Like with the vocals. The band they do a lot of live stuff together, but often it will all be produced in like a workstation.
Yeah.
Then they
Okay.
do a bunch of live gigs with the whole group
The whole band.
as well.
Cool.
Nice. That was
So
fun.
they are from Phoenix, Arizona, huh?
Yeah, isn't
That's
that like
correct,
a hot
yeah.
spot for like all kinds of UFOs and all that?
Yeah, they had the very, very famous Phoenix Lights case. So I don't know. I feel something's following us tonight.
That's really funny. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, UFO is definitely part of this whole Halloween because everything that's the unknown, you know.
Yeah.
everything That's like
The universe is scary as fuck, you know.
we have only a mere tiny speck in the entire universal
Yeah.
spectrum, you know. And but in terms of UFOs, yeah. Carlos, Hamlet, and I, three of us, all witnesses to this, saw UFOs by our beach last year, actually around this time last year. And actually I went on Twitter and I told everyone, and half of the world ridiculed me and half of the world believed me. But
Yeah, that
they
tends
kinda
to be
What
the
did you
case.
see?
huh
What did you see? What was
it
what
was
the-
it was a very tight V shape formation, or some sort of like, it's one unit, it's one ship, it's V shape, and with two lights, four pairs of lights on each leg, so 8 lights, I guess, in each leg, but perfect symmetrical and just hovering and going,
Mm.
like, you know, again, no sound, no
Wow.
nothing. Yeah, it was just an object in the sky that's just moving, and it hovered a bit and then darted off.
Damn.
Like,
That's funny. When,
yeah.
when
And we saw it. We were like, I was not fast enough to grab my phone and take photos, but
Yeah.
I was able to
Mm.
recreate it. And then I was able to, I took a photograph of the spot where it was. It was actually hovering like literally next to my house. And then over the water next to my house, and it darted it towards the mountains, but it looked like these lights that were perfectly in a V-shaped form, and like, you know, they look like they're recessed into a bigger unit, and
It's like
somebody
birds.
was
Maybe they're
like,
like migrating to a different galaxy. Or
yeah,
something.
but yeah, and then completely, you know, completely perfectly not
Mhm.
still, but like they're perfectly coordinated, you know, so it's not organic, but not organic things, you know, because it was too perfect. And then somebody did say, oh, it might be the Elon Musk, those lights I forgot what that project was, but you know that
SpaceX.
Starlink
yeah, the SpaceX, there you
satellites.
go, the
Oh, yeah.
Starlinks. Yeah, but I was like, no, the
Mm.
Starlinks, even the Starlinks are not perfect. They're
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they're also one long train. So at the same time, they're so far up in space that they're not within atmosphere anymore, but this was definitely still still it wasn't that far from the ground. And so that was the strangest and probably the first UFO experience that I've seen. And yeah, and I've heard from other Galicians and other parts of Spain. They're like, yeah, we see them all the time. We see
Oh,
weird
just
things
a
in the
normal
sky all the
thing.
time.
All right.
Yeah, there's probably something nearby.
Oh shit.
Wow.
Like an alien laboratory that yeah,
Who knows?
yeah, who knows. But that was one. So you guys have had any other weird experiences? There's some
When I was a kid, I thought I saw a UFO. When I was in the back of the car. Again, I was probably about 7 or 8, maybe younger. And I was in the back of my car, and my parents were driving. We just pulled out of my street, and I looked out the right window. I remember it perfectly, and it was like a like this kind of shape, like what would you say, like American football kind of shape, rugby ball kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
And
it's like
it
an
was,
almond.
yeah, it was, yeah, and it was grey, and it was just in the sky. And I looked, and I was like, wow, it looks. I was like, that doesn't look like a plane, and it just zipped off, just shot off really quickly.
Whoa.
And I said to my mom and dad, I remember it perfectly. I said, something was in the sky, and it just flew off like faster than I've ever seen. They were like, yeah, whatever. And that was it. But yeah, that's the only thing I've
I
really.
hate it when they don't believe us.
Yeah.
They're like,
But that's
whatever.
a pretty tremendous sighting too. And it's such a classic move that they're like at one spot and they just pew, zip
Yeah,
off,
I remember
It's
it.
a
I remember it
UFO
just
doing
left
that.
really, really quickly.
Yeah.
What do you call
Yeah.
those? What's that term where when an airplane like flies over and then leaves this trail, that like little cloudy trail, like that? What's that word?
Oh, like
Wait,
contrail.
What is it called?
Contrails. Yeah.
Contrail.
How do you spell
Contrail.
CON. I'm googling this, by the way. CONTRAIL.
Okay,
Yeah.
so contrail.
Contrails
So-
are vapor trails. You could
Vapor
say
trails.
Yeah.
So they don't last long. They disappear within a few minutes, right? Like they just.
Mhm.
So I was watching Ancient Aliens, and then basically on a satellite picked this up really quickly. There was a contrail or vapor trail that went from South Pole to North Pole, and you could still see the trail. And they caught it
Really?
on camera on satellite. Yeah. And that
That's
thing
weird.
was, and you cannot, nothing, at least that we know of, can fly and can go as that fast, and still preserve a vapor trail, from one pole of the earth to the next pole.
Damn, that's
Yeah, that's
great.
cool.
Yeah, and it was like a
Indeed.
perfectly straight line too. Like that's what they showed. I'm gonna post all of these photographs, by the way. Like when I edit this, I'm gonna post all these photographs, like of everything that I'm like been watching. But I thought that was, I mean, yeah, because that's how fast they go, and it's always just so interesting. It's like, like what you were saying, Zen, and like that gray almond-shaped structure that you saw in the sky. I mean, everyone could have just passed it off as a blimp, right? Like, oh, it's just like another
Yeah.
air balloon.
It was too
But
weird.
the fact that
it was
it's
really strange.
but the fact that it just zipped, like
Yeah.
nothing zips like that. Not even airplanes or helicopters like zip that way,
Yeah.
And
And it was like it was there. It was just there, and then just
yeah,
just like it was there, just kind of floating but
And
moving, and then
that
it
is-
instantly shot off.
that is the characteristic of like
Yeah, that is
every
like
UFO.
such a classic UFO
Yeah.
move.
It's like
Yeah,
when
weird.
they go so fast, or they have lights, unexplained lights, like creating
Yeah.
weird shapes and silhouettes.
Have you guys ever heard stories of UFOs like trying to mimic human airplanes? Because like
I've heard a
they're
lot
I
about
believe
in
that.
general, just mimicking humans and
yeah, but
things.
like one of my favorite stories for just like how strange these are like these stories of people seeing airplanes which like behave. They look like on first glance like normal airplanes, but like the lights are all wrong, or the structures are like all wrong, or they have stuff like with a small airplane flying at light with like at night with like the cockpit really lit up, which makes no sense because the pilot would be just absolutely blinded, or just doing like a completely noiseless like this kind of small propeller plane, which
We've seen
just
so much of what you're describing.
Yeah,
We've
yeah,
seen
yeah.
it so much by us. Like it's,
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
would go and debate like where, like, you know, and we always walk Hamlet at weird hours, like because we, you know, we don't sleep. we just we just go about our day so arbitrarily, you know.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
just have to make sure that Hamlet gets his walk. But there are times that we would walk like at 4:30 in the morning, and we'd just see random lights, and we would stare at them in the sky. And then a few times they looked like they would be making at first we thought it was like a constellation, right? We'd see like Orion's belt or something, or you know, or Little Dipper, Big Dipper. And then suddenly some of those stars would just move.
Wow.
It's like, but yeah, we saw that. Like we're like, okay, that's weird. And then what you were describing, that a few times we've like looked up and we would debate whether it's a plane or not a plane. And
Yeah.
that's a normal evening conversation almost every other night. Like that. And we'd be like, is that a plane or is that's not a plane? You know, because yeah, like we know what planes look like, we know what they
Yeah.
sound like. And some of the stuff that we've seen, they do not basically share the same behavior as what planes normally would have, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And then yeah, and then well, weird cloud formations. I'm always so suspicious of clouds. It's like, yeah, it's like like so you would see this random giant weird cloud, and you know, and then you're like, you're hiding something in there. But
Don't
did you ever
trust
see
the
that footage?
clouds.
That footage somewhere in China where they said that they saw like a whole city in the sky, and then it was like, and it appeared to thousands and thousands of witnesses like saw this, and then the
Yeah.
government which was basically was saying, oh, it's just a mirage in the sky. Like I don't think you can have a mirage like that in the sky. That looks
Yeah.
like
Mirage.
you guys, you've heard of that story, right?
I
Like
haven't
Yeah,
heard
yeah.
of it.
I
I think
remember
I've
that.
heard, yeah, something like that, yeah. But
it's
I
like, and
don't
then
know
they
in
all had
detail.
footage of like this mega structure, like this. They look like buildings, and they're just hovering and moving.
And it actually just got brushed off.
something. I don't know, like it. But so many people saw it, and then
Yeah, but then
of
how
course the
can they
Chinese.
just like how does that like just disappear? Like I didn't even hear of it. How does that like who's in charge of like how are they so good with like hiding this stuff?
No, it was.
I think that
It was
you don't need
it
to
was
have anyone in charge, you know, as long as if you just can create the idea that this kind of stuff doesn't happen or exist and it's ridiculous, then it's just going to like censor itself out from society.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's
just
a
because
really
it's so
terrifying thought.
bizarre. Yeah, it was so
Yeah.
bizarre. It was a bizarre footage, and it was several, and not even
Yeah,
that. It
yeah.
was several angles. But yeah, of course, like you know, their government was like, "Oh, it's just a mirage. It
Yeah.
was hot," like, you know, and then the vapors reflected the buildings from the other district of this city that we're in.
Yeah.
That's their explanation. But it was like, that's a pretty damn good mirage. Like if you
Yeah,
can see
yeah, yeah.
the 3 dimensions and you can see all the details of, you know.
Yeah, and of
I'll
course,
post the
since it's
photos of this, like, you know, when I do the editing,
Yeah.
I'll post all the photos.
Yeah, I wanna look it up actually.
Yeah. And
yeah,
then but it's interesting. I do believe that there are other intelligent or much more advanced beings than us, for sure, and it wouldn't surprise me if they were the ones who actually created us. That's a huge possibility because there's no missing
could be.
link.
I
Yeah.
certainly believe that, you know, I actually believe that they may not be, you know, like alien life as from other planets as we think, but some kind of like interdimensional beings. And, you know, they've certainly been with us for a very long time, because there are a lot of like these myths all around the world, which, you know, can read in kind of this like light of an
My
alien narrative, you know, kind of
right.
like in in things like in medieval pre-medieval England, they had like these myths of like fairies and elves,
Dragons. Yeah.
yeah, abducting people, and it's like
They just
strange
discovered a dragon fossil.
strange small people in the forests abducting people to a strange glowing hill versus you go out to the woods and strange small humanoids abduct you to a glowing ship. It's like
Yeah, for sure.
uncannily similar, and
Yeah, all those stories,
yeah,
all the all of them kind of and they're all related. Like they all say the same
yeah,
story. They
yeah,
all depict the same story. Every culture has the great flood, like the
yeah,
mythological story of Noah and the ark and stuff like that. They all have that, and these cultures have never met. But my take is a little bit more practical. Whenever I look at ancient um like buildings and structures from ancient times, whether it's the pyramids, well, definitely the pyramids, across all the cultures, like, the Mayans have their own pyramids, definitely Egypt had their own pyramids, China had their own pyramids. Like, to me, even looking at those structures that are so modern and so mathematically advanced, like, there's no way that early humans created that. We're supposed to have just been come out of monkeys, like, during that time, and only learned how to use hammers and wheels, and even looking at all those old temples from ancient times, like, all their art, they look like they've been laser cut. They're so precise and perfect that even Photoshop and Illustrator could not even match it. I can't even do that in Illustrator. And supposedly they were created using very, very what do you call it? Like those early tools. Like, there's no way that they
yeah,
carved this perfectly symmetrical, image of the Sphinx using a hammer and whatever
Yeah,
small chisels. Like, there's just no way. And
it is strange. It is very strange. Yeah.
yeah, and then I was like, that's all laser cut. Like, they like when they carved the entire temple out of like a limestone bedrock on a cliff.
Mm.
Like, yeah,
yeah,
and it's perfect. And then
Mm.
actually, if you look at it, you can almost see the laser lines, like, or like, when you do 3D printing, you do like, you see
The
the
kind of
ridges,
the
like, yeah,
layers of it.
the layers, and you can
Yeah.
see the layers of how they laser cut these structures out of limestone bedrock. And my absolute favorite is the obelisk in Egypt, and versus
Hmm.
the obelisk in Washington D.C., where the obelisk in Washington D.C. was made of bricks. So modern
yeah,
obelisks were
yeah,
made of bricks that are
Yeah.
piled up in shape, whereas the one back then, ancient times, it was just giant one piece, perfect limestone rock, solid rock that's been
yeah, yeah. It's
perfectly shaped.
quite amazing.
Yeah, it's like, if we can't, like, I always had this talk with my dad, where, because my dad's an architect and engineer, and I was like, I bet you, like, if even if you guys round up the best architects and the best engineers, nobody can still replicate any of those structures, any of those temples, any of those pyramids to this day. There's just absolutely no way. Yeah.
Would be really not actually an interesting experiment to try to see people like replicate how
I
those
think they
things are
have
made.
tried, or I think they've tried to what do you call it, experiment on how they even
Mm,
got those giant limestones from point A to point B based on mainstream theories in terms of how they were built, and
yeah,
proven to be impossible. And it's like, who's going to, like, what would motivate early humans to go through all that insane trouble of just picking up one limestone bedrock, you know, to move
yeah,
it,
and they were
which is like
like,
20 tons each.
yeah, and thinking of the pyramids, like, weren't they finished in the lifetime of a single pharaoh? It just seems like such a crazy amount of work to get something like
Well,
that.
that's what was
Yeah,
believed, but I think that
yeah. I don't know.
yeah, I
Like
don't think
certainly, like back then, if you think like if the people had some cause and motivation, like in Europe, they literally built cathedrals that would take like hundreds of years to complete. So they had the time and patience, certainly. And I guess, I mean, this kind of sense that this project is so like divinely important that we can like spend our entire lives on this.
yeah,
But
they
yeah,
spent
I
generations.
at least feel that the human history is older than what is currently known. Certainly, I think it's very plausible that there have been a bit more advanced civilizations in the past, and they've just become lost. Not necessarily something like the ancient Egypt had flying cars or such, but if there was something like in the level of pharaonic Egypt that was like, I don't know, 20,000 years earlier, then there would be just no trace of it. And there's been theories that the pyramids are actually like something like 10,000 years older than they are currently dated to be. So people would have certainly had time to master their crafts, but
There's an interesting theory about carbon dating and how inaccurate it is if it's exposed to high levels of nuclear exposure.
really, I
Like,
didn't know that.
yeah,
Interesting.
there are things that are so. Let's just, this is the theory. Let's just
Yeah.
pretend, that there are beings like millions and millions of years before us. Let's just say, and they get into their own wars, and then
Yeah.
they had, let's just say they had like nuclear bombs, right? So anything that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
exposed to that would be actually would date, if you carbon date those things, they add more years. Does that make sense? So say
Yeah, yeah.
you take something that is exposed to that had nuclear exposure today, if you carbon date it, it would say 3,000 years from today or something like that. So it's from the
Huh.
future. So
Interesting.
that's what they're discovering now. So now they're like, well, wait a minute, we might not be accurate after all when we're doing carbon dating.
That's
So
really interesting.
yeah, so it's if there are things that have been exposed, and then back then, like if you look at the stories and look at the mythology, every culture engaged in this giant war.
Yeah, yeah.
The war in the skies, every culture, right? Whether you're talking about the Nordic culture, Chinese, the Indians, Mayans, Aztecs, Egyptians, they all had this giant war. Like every single one of them, this is war in the skies. So imagine that happened, right?
Yeah.
Much further back then, and then all of them used some sort of nuclear exposure.
Yeah.
All the remnants from that time would date much more recent than predicted. So
That's interesting.
I'm such a nerd about this. I don't know why I got into this. I really don't know, but I'm just like so hungry for I just want answers. At that part of my life when I just want answers. I just don't want I don't want mainstream theories anymore.
I'm very glad that I'm not the only one who is weird about our potential neighbors here. But anyway, what else did we have on offer music-wise tonight?
Music, let's we have Draven.
Draven, yeah.
Yeah, let's take a look at Draven, who is Sith fam, and I've been wanting to feature Draven. He caught my attention recently, and I was like, this guy's really cool, and I do like his dark synth brand. So we're gonna take a look at Unspeakable Horror by Draven. That was Draven.
Yeah.
Unspeakable Horror.
Yeah, very fit for the Halloween to say the least.
Yeah, that is it's a thriving genre in our scene. Like the
Yeah,
straight
yeah,
up super dark horror synth.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
And you
I like it.
know,
It's
It's
fun.
not just
yeah,
dark
and
synth. It's not. It's beyond dark synth. They're like really like gory sounding.
Horror
yeah,
Yeah.
horror scene. And you know, I think it's kind of natural considering like there's a lot of people for whom like kind of their synthwave inspiration doesn't really even come from synthwave, but from like John Carpenter soundtracks, and even like you know a lot of like these really cheesy 80s like B horror movies. They just used synths on the soundtracks because it was like the economic alternative, and you know it's always.
I thought it was
I
really funny that video. I thought was really I thought it was really funny because I don't find it so scary. Like,
yeah, yeah,
I
I
see
think
that in
it's
real life, I'll be like, "Oh hi, you're so cute." Like,
yeah.
like little gremlins. I'm like, "Oh hi." It's like
I mean, after everything you've seen, I suppose you've become kind of like.
Oh, you say that now,
Scared
but when
these
when you get to it and you have all these gremlins nibbling your toes.
Yeah,
I'll just give them bacon. Like here, like you know, like, can I give you proper food?
Maybe that's their problem. Yeah, maybe that's why they're so angry. They just haven't been fed proper processed food.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of feeding gremlins and other small things, Thorison, is it true that in Iceland there are some people who like really seriously believe in, you know, the like real elves, like real small mythical people living in like rocks and stuff like that? Because I remember like reading that like some road construction in Iceland a few years back was diverted because the locals like believed that there was this like this big stone and that it was inhabited by like elves or something like that.
Yeah, I remember that story. I don't remember exactly how it progressed and how and if they actually stopped it. And these people, yeah, they're here in Iceland. I don't know any of them personally, but definitely it's a group of
That's
Thorsten,
and,
your
you know,
next project, look for some elves. Go elf hunting.
with this costume on. I'm sure I'll have I'll
Yeah.
find some in no
Wear the
time.
costume. Wear the costume out in the mountains.
Hello, fellow elves. I'm here to.
Because
So, do you, Thorison, have like any weird, scary experiences?
No, you know,
aside for the drawers and the closet.
yeah, the drawers.
Oh
that's,
yeah, that one. Well, that was
honestly,
weird.
it's weird. Yeah, I've probably seen a bunch of shit, but I think I'm just one of those people that I just rationalize everything. That's not to say that I don't believe in it, but I think we just
Yeah.
rationalize because we're scared and we don't want to know, I guess. So I suppose that's what I do.
Yeah.
So
no, that's-
unfortunately, don't have any real life stories. Although, yeah, I might have seen some crazy stuff without even realizing it.
Yeah, who knows? I recently watched the Icelandic, I guess you can say it's a horror series called Katla, I believe. It's about
yeah.
the real life volcano erupting, and then, these like clones of people start appearing. And it was like tied to like these kind of like local myths. And I was kind of curious if like there were like some myths of like in Iceland of people like disappearing and then like you find some kind of a copy of that person, but it's not the same person, or if it was something that they like made up for the series.
It's like an ancient myth. It's called like Hultefolk, which
Wait,
is
hold on.
Hultefolk.
Hold on, Thorsten, your microphone is glitching again. Sorry.
Okay. Let me just.
You're gonna
It's
have
better
to
now.
Yeah, it's better
Okay.
now.
It's
Yeah.
okay now.
Yeah, I think it's the cable. It's a faulty cable.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like it's a myth, like one of those ancient things from the old tales
Yeah.
Ancient myths.
about people that aren't people, I suppose. And
Yeah.
it's like it's kind of scary. I watched the series as well. The main actress, she's actually a singer called GTRN.
Oh. Okay.
She's really good. We should probably feature some of her stuff. Good stuff on
Sure, that
Yeah.
would be really
What's
cool.
That'd be really
What's
cool.
the series called?
Katla.
Katla.
It's like Katla, and it's on Netflix. At least on Finland, it's
Is
on
it?
Netflix.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I haven't heard of it, but I will check it out.
It
Yeah,
was
it's-
really good. I highly
Yeah, I'll
recommend
check
it.
it out. I need to binge watch something.
Yeah, and it was really
Yeah,
cool. I
love
thought how
binge watching stuff.
how it offered this kind of a modern take of these ancient myths. It was something that I really enjoyed, and the kind of the character drama that was going on was also very enjoyable. Another very good horror series that is on Netflix is the Midnight Mass. I
was
just
just
absolutely,
gonna say that. Yeah,
yeah,
Midnight Mass,
I
So
freaking
good.
loved it so much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I loved
Check
it.
that out.
Yeah, that was
So-
one of the best things I've seen, like best series I've seen in a long
Oh,
time.
wow.
Actually, like,
Yeah,
horror,
yeah.
or not horror. I thought it was like
and
really well done.
even without the horror element, I think it would have been like a really fantastic drama series.
Yeah, so many
And, you
good
know,
characters.
yeah,
the priest
yeah.
was like amazing. The guy that played the priest, he was
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
good.
And
you guys
you
have
know-
any favorite movies in terms of movies, like your favorite scary movies?
Well, I've
well,
already
I would
mentioned.
say The
Yeah, you've
Shining.
already managed. Yeah, yours is Shining. So that's your absolute favorite is The Shining.
I don't know. I kind of thought my top three are the Shining, Alien, and The Thing, but
Okay.
Oh, that's
Kind
very
of-
good.
never know where to put them. But maybe The Shining is number one. I don't know. I think it's probably the scariest of them all. I would say, because Jack Nicholson's just really scary, isn't he?
No, he
He's
is.
just-
Yeah,
scary.
yeah.
Yeah, he played that role so well.
I
And
haven't
that's
seen
like that kind of
any.
horror,
Yeah.
isn't it? Where it's like it's not the supernatural, but it's the you know, your family. It's like he's really close
Yeah.
to you. That's kind of scary.
Yeah.
That's really cool. But yeah, Alien, obviously, and yeah, The Thing. I love The Thing. But so many. I watch a lot of horror. So
Yeah, you
Right,
always
well, you
have
guys-
you always have posts of like movies, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you've got an
like,
extensive list of recommendations.
He's like
yeah,
Zenon is like
I
my pop culture library, like in terms of like, you know, what to watch, like
Yeah.
reference. Yeah.
anytime. Yeah, just ask. It's fine. Yeah.
Thorson,
I won't probably too much.
Thorson, what's your favorite scary movie?
I think I'll just go with The Conjuring.
The
Conjuring.
Conjuring,
Any-
yeah, all the
If anyone
Stephen
of
Wong
them,
I
films
love
are
that
really scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
they're
first
like
one really
there's so
scary, yeah.
much you know recent horror that's just bland.
Yeah.
But they really got a good theme and a good story.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
he
the
did
way
it really
he
well.
uses
The
music
haunted
too.
house kind of story. He did that
Mhm.
really well with The Conjuring.
Yeah.
The Conjuring.
I have
what's
actually
the series? There's The
some.
Conjuring, and then there's the one with the little boy.
Oh, Insidious. I love that as well.
Insidious, yeah.
Insidious, yeah. The
Yeah,
first
I
one
love
I
that one.
really enjoyed. I don't think I've seen the other ones. Or maybe I've
Yeah,
seen
the
some.
first one's always the best one. You know, the others
Best one,
don't
yeah.
match up, but
Yeah.
they're still good. You know,
Yeah.
I still enjoyed them. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's all the same. What's his name again?
Stephen Wan.
Yeah, that's
Ja-
the one. Yeah,
James Wan.
He-
Is it?
Oh, James Wan.
Yeah,
Sorry,
James
I
Wan,
don't know
yeah.
who Stephen Wan is.
Well,
James Wan.
Common name. But yeah,
James Wan,
he's been doing some good stuff, and there's like
Yeah.
a whole like there's others as well like that link
watched-
to it all.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I watched his latest one in the cinema a couple of
one
weeks
is that?
ago, *Malignant*,
Oh,
And,
Malignant. Yeah,
and it's probably the most insane film
is
I've
it the
ever
scariest
seen.
one? Oh, it's the scariest one out of. Oh, yeah.
It's not. It's not scary. It's bizarre. Like you just have to watch it. Like
Okay.
I've never been. So in the UK, like people don't clap at the end of a film or whatever. You know, like
Only weirdos clap at the.
Yeah.
Only
People do that
I
like
don't know.
with films and when an airplane lands. People still do that as well.
Yeah, people still do that.
Only-
I'm like, oh.
Only time I've ever seen people clapped at the end of a film in Finland was at the end of Gaspar Noé's Into the Void.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah.
I've
But-
never seen it before either until this film, and people clapped because it's so bizarre and ridiculous. Like
Wow.
there's a big kind of twist, and so
Yeah.
you think you're gonna get, and then it's like even more ridiculous than what you think it is. And it's just it's like
Okay.
it's like a horror, it's like a B movie horror, but then it tries to be like serious horror, but then it goes back to like B movie, like a buddy cop film, and then at the end it just turns into like the Matrix, basically.
Hello. Okay.
Horror Matrix. I don't know.
All right, I'm gonna
It's
put that on
totally-
my list to watch.
Yeah.
You should watch it.
I
It's
have
really fun.
I think
I have a
Yeah.
couple of like these a bit more unknown horror movies which I would like to like talk about a bit because I think they're worth seeing. They're actually like both are Japanese horror films, and the first one is there's an I think there's even like this bad American remake of it, but in English the name is just Pulse. In Japanese I think it was like Cairo.
Cairo.
And
Yeah.
Cairo, yeah, it's a really cool movie. It has a very interesting premise
I'll
and
have
sort
to
of
see it.
it's just kind of like internet and ghosts, but done in a very
Yeah.
interesting ways. It sort of like plays into the late 90s like interest and anxiety about technology in a really cool way.
Mhm.
And another like very cool lesser known Japanese horror movie is it's called in English Cure. I don't remember what was the Japanese name, but it has a very interesting premise. I think if I remember correctly, it was about like a hypnotherapist, and
Yeah.
the movie has just like this really unique atmosphere to it that's just like really like haunting, and sort of like it's like one of those movies it's less scary and more like just really makes you super anxious. And you
Wow.
know, the atmosphere was something
Yeah.
that really stuck with me.
I love both those films. I love especially Cairo, the first one. That's one of my favorite horrors.
Yeah, I think I
it's
saw
the
the Hollywood
Yeah.
version of that one actually.
Yeah,
I haven't
They-
seen
they did-
any
they
of
did
them. I'd
remake
like
it.
to.
but the original's so good. And they're both the same director. Kiyoshi Kurosawa did both those.
Mm.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
films.
All right. Cool.
And Cure is just called Cure.
Cute.
Japanese.
Cool.
Yeah.
I have to check this out. Speaking of Japanese films, I mean, Ringu is
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
and also the
Classic.
American remake. Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
funny because we always get into debate of which one's better, the American version or the Japanese version, and I always say whichever one you see first. is
Yeah,
always gonna be the better
basically.
one.
Probably true. That's probably true.
Yeah, because
I
I saw
actually
the
think that
American.
the American adaptation of Ringu is like probably the best like of these American adaptations of Japanese horror movies, and
Yeah.
I think
I
it's
thought the
just
American version was great. Like, you know,
Yeah,
because I
it's
feel
really
like
great.
they really made this. They completed the story, or they really tied everything together. And
yeah.
also the visuals. I mean, the visuals in the Japanese was really scary, but I thought the visuals, the American one, like I remember not sleeping for days after seeing that. Like because
Yeah,
I
it
was
was-
just so terrified.
It was super scary when I saw it as a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
even
was
the
like that
black
with
and
the-
white footage that they had,
Yeah.
like that whole series was really disturbed me.
Yeah.
The
That's like 20
Japanese
years
one, I
ago.
remember. I think we rented it on video, me and my friend, and we put the video in, and you know, like the last scene, the Japanese one, the last scene where she comes out the TV, and it's not like
Yeah.
CG, obviously, it's just like a real person coming out
Yeah.
of the TV, and it's really scary. I remember I didn't used to be scared of horror films very much, but that like frightened me.
That really frightened me too.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
It's really good.
There was something really fresh about it when it came out. Like something that really, you know, kind of like, well, videotapes weren't really new per se at the moment, but you know, there was like certainly they found some horror in this like kind of like very mundane technologies. I remember being this scene where like one of the characters like cuffs up film or like a wire or something like that, and really like very nasty when I saw it, and it was like exceptional. It was like this real cultural moment. I remember it was really talked about back
Yeah.
then.
Mhm.
The Blair Witch Project as well, when that came out, like that
Oh,
was the
Blair
first-
Witch.
Yeah, it was huge.
I still love that now. Like, it's the best found footage, and it started the found.
Yeah, absolutely.
Found footage,
Yeah.
yeah. And then it was like
And,
it didn't even show anything. It didn't
Didn't
have
show
to
anything,
show
didn't need
anything.
to.
Yeah,
But it's just the emotional aspect of it, like, you know, the whole roller coaster, and then
Yeah.
and how they just let your imagination do its
Yeah.
trick
And
afterwards. That was so brilliant. And I
That's
hated
the
that
best
movie
thing about
because
it,
it really
like-
scared me too.
Yeah, it's really scary. And you never see, like you say, you never see anything. Like it's just you hear like the kids crying or laughing, and then at the
Yeah.
end that scene where he's just standing in the corner and you don't know
You couldn't,
why.
yeah.
And
Exactly,
the
like,
camera
why
drops
you-
and that's it. It's
Exactly.
terrifying. Yeah, really good.
Did you ever see the parody of that one where, like, you know, that famous footage with the girl
But
just
they're holding
crying?
the camera.
The camera, and then like, you know, like her snot was coming
Yeah.
out, but they made a parody of that where just the snot was just bubbling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
I saw that.
crying and
Was that like,
it kept on bubbling? I don't know how they did it, but they just were able to make her nose just bubble. That's how.
I think
Oh
it was,
my
was
God.
it not that movie. Like it was like a parody of a parody. It was like a parody of scary movie. It was like Shriek If I Know What You Did Last Friday the 13th. Something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
They did a Blair Witch bit. There's a Blair Witch bit in that where she says, you know, like she says, I'm too scared to close my eyes. I'm too scared if I open them. And then she goes, but it's okay if I do this. And she goes, and she breaks it.
Really.
Yeah.
Let's take. Speaking of Hollywood films, let's take a look at Hollywood Burns. I think it was it you, Kazanot, or one of you?
Yeah,
guys
it was me. It was definitely me. Yeah, so Hollywood Burns, once again, a solo project from a French guy whose name I'm gonna probably butcher right now, Émeric Levardon. He's from Paris, France. He makes really kick-ass synthwave music, kind of dark synthy, but he just adds all kinds of cool orchestral, old B movie, 50s movie, all kinds of really cool, unique vibes to his music. He has a new album coming out on Blood Music on November, I think it was November 12th. Don't necessarily quote me on that, but you all have something to look forwards to on November.
All right. Let's take a look at Saturday Night Screamer by Hollywood Burns. So that was Hollywood Burns. Saturday
Yeah,
Night
and
Fever.
another absolute fire banger by Hollywood Burns.
Yeah.
That was really
Same
good.
record label as Perturbator.
Yeah,
Blood Music.
yeah, Blood Music.
I love it.
Blood Music is actually a Finnish label. I was very
Is it a Finnish
surprised.
label? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's based in Porvoo, which is like the small city, I don't know, 50 kilometers away from Helsinki on the southern coast. I was like mega surprised when I learned this like a couple of years ago. But yeah, if it's on Blood Music, you know it's gonna be good.
Right. Yeah, they're a fantastic record label, and I love everything that they put out so far. Of course, I'm a huge Perturbator fan.
Yeah.
Anything adjacent to Perturbator, solid to me. All right. Well, that's actually our last video. I'm going to show my burn video at the very end.
Yes.
I've always been like, my burn video is rated M for mature, so mature audiences. But this channel is mature audiences only.
Well, speak for yourself.
Oh wow, we're in for some super scary stuff then, I suppose.
Yeah, very super scary stuff. Yeah,
But hey, it's
we started with Burn. We started this episode with Burn, the original Burn by The Cure, which I absolutely love, and I know Xennon loves it so much too. But I like that movie, that soundtrack changed my life. Actually, that was like the turning point for me. Like, as a young girl of like 13, turning 14 or something, and that changed my direction. Like, just I appreciate darker things. I got introduced to everything goth and industrial, and I like, and then I heard Nine Inch Nails, like, for probably the first time, I think, around that time. And
Yeah. So
but Brandon Lee has always been like my perpetual crush, like, since then, like, and there was actually a point in my life where, like, I was single for a long time because I didn't want to date anyone unless they're equivalent to Brandon Lee. I was that psycho. But
he is fantastic in that film, isn't he?
yeah.
Yeah, he was so sad. Yeah, and that's what makes it so much more so much more painful. Like, every time I hear that song and I see, like, The Crow and clips, especially that music video that we just showed earlier.
Yeah.
Where they took clips of The Crow with the song Burn. It's just like, you get those pangs, like, it's just
I agree. Yeah.
Very tragic.
Yeah, amazing. But this has been such an excellent show, you guys. And I just want to say thank you.
True pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining.
You have to do this again.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. Anytime.
Yeah.
And who knows,
All right, let's
maybe
do it tomorrow then. You got it.
and who knows, maybe by next Halloween, Xennon and Thorison will have a few strange experiences of their own to share.
If we do it,
You never know.
Right. If we do a Christmas episode, Thorson, what are you gonna wear?
Oh no, I've kind of wasted my Christmas jumper here.
Yeah, you already wasted your Christmas jumper.
I've got another one.
We can do it again.
I've got another one. It's fine.
All right. Or any last words to our audience?
For me, as always, actually not as always, I'm gonna update for this particular occasion. Stay smooth and stay spooky.
Oh wow.
Stay curious and remember you will survive this winter.
Xennon,
Strong words. Strong words. Very well said.
Keep an eye
That
out
is actually
for,
very strong words.
keep an eye out for ghosts of Sherlock Holmes.
As for me,
Solid advice.
yeah, that is solid advice. As for me, stay dark and chic. And this
Oh,
is...
you got your own. Oh,
it's only for today. It's only for today. It's Halloween. Yeah. Dark and chic. All right, guys.
Dark and chic.
And this is my Burn music video. Enjoy and good night.
Good night.
Good night.